So there are multiple reports about Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, and the likelihood that he would take the Dallas Cowboys job, depending on who you read, could seem more likely or less likely. And I know, like a lot of Big 12 fans, I know a lot of you will kind of roll your eyes at this, but you shouldn't. I think this is a bigger story in Big 12 country than it is being treated as, which seems crazy because the Cowboys are involved and Deion Sanders is involved. I think it's a big story, like nationally. It certainly generates a lot of conversation to college football casuals, people who really just follow the NFL or follow big brands, just follow sports on a national level. But in Big 12 country, I don't feel like this story is getting enough run. And it's not because, hey, what will Colorado do? Or, Big 12 coach is being poached again. No, it's none of that. I'm not trying to say anything about that. I think this has wide-ranging, broad-based implications on the conference if he were to go. So hear me out, even if you are somebody that gets very annoyed with all of the Deion Sanders talk. So one of the reports came from Ed Werder, a former ESPN reporter. He covered the Cowboys for a very long time. He's got deep Cowboys connections, still an NFL reporter. He said, this was like 3 days ago, quote, regarding Deion Sanders, I'm being told that he almost certainly would accept if Jerry Jones offers to make him the next Cowboys head coach, and that those around him are encouraging him to pursue it, and that Jerry Jones is enamored with the idea. So that's what Ed Werder said. He obviously would be the one that would be the most, you read that and be like, oh, okay, wow, this might actually happen. On the other side, like Ian Rappaport tweeted today that nothing is scheduled yet with Coach Prime in terms of a scheduled interview. We do know that they talked, like Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders have talked. He said nothing's scheduled yet officially with Coach Prime. Then he went on to say, I'd be surprised, probably very surprised if something did in fact get scheduled. So you read that and you would think, all right, well, maybe not as likely. Okay. But many have pointed out, and I would agree with this, like, hey, Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders know each other very well. I don't know that that's the type of relationship that would require like a formal, scheduled sit down. You've got to report it and tweet it out there. Official interview. I don't know that they would need that if he is actually going to hire him. But on one hand, we've seen Cowboys have already interviewed like Robert Saleh, Kellen Moore. Leslie Frazier, I believe, is supposed to interview tomorrow. So there are some official interviews happening. We know that there's at least been some level of conversation with Coach Prime. Diana Rossini was another NFL reporter who seemed to be a little more lukewarm on the legitimate possibility of this happening. Now, for Colorado's sake, it's not like Prime has been out there acting like he's a guy that is actively trying to leave. They were still very active in the transfer portal, signed the second best class in the Big 12. I don't know if like signed is even the appropriate terminology anymore. They put together the second best portal class in the Big 12 behind Texas Tech, who's top 3 nationally. Quarterback, biggest thing that they're going to have to replace, much as Travis Hunter is great. Shedeur Sanders is the most irreplaceable part of that team. And they've done everything that they could. They got an elite high school quarterback in Julian Lewis. They got one of the best quarterbacks in the portal in Caden Slater. And so they've done everything they can to shore that up and try to be ready short and long term at quarterback. There is also this element here, and I know a lot of people will point this out, like there have been a lot of whispers out of Colorado that they're trying to get a contract extension done and that Prime perhaps wants more than what Colorado has put on the table so far. So maybe this is just a negotiating ploy. Like, okay, sure, I'm not naive enough to think that that's not something that could very well be what's happening. I am not naive enough to not understand how the game works and how this typically goes. And I also understand where a lot of you are coming from, where you're just tired of this in general. Now, there's a crowd of people that is always going to hate Deion, Coach Prime, Colorado, for bad faith reasons. Like there will be people who hate him where they're just arguing in bad faith. I don't think that that's everybody or a majority of people, but a lot of people that are in the, Coach Prime, Deion hater camp are there in bad faith. There are also those who are just going to hate him because they get tired of the attention. They think he just wants attention, which I think if you really pay attention, there's quite a bit more substance to what is happening there at Colorado, in addition to him utilizing a lot of the attention and harnessing it to his advantage. But I get it. I get it. I do understand. I do understand that, especially after all of that attention that has followed Colorado, now you've got Jerry Jones, very much attention-seeking personality. The Dallas Cowboys, underachieving franchise that way outperforms itself in terms of the attention they generate nationally based on their actual accomplishments. And you're combining them now with Coach Prime and how much attention that Colorado program consistently seeks and draws. Throw all that together and you're like, boy, I am out. This is not a story. This is not me. I don't care. Stay, go, whatever. I'm still telling you, I think you very much should care if you're a Big 12 fan. But I understand how you get to that. If this hire were to happen, this is the ultimate attention-generating hire that you could possibly go for. And frankly, that's why I look at it and think, I don't know, dude. That seems like something Jerry Jones would do, right? Does it not? And that's very much up his alley, exactly what he would want. Think about how much attention would be paid to the Cowboys every week if Deion Sanders were their actual head coach. So I get the eye roll, but I am telling you, this would be a huge loss for the Big 12, a huge loss. And not even, again, me saying because, the Colorado program could just drop right back down and they were arguably the most irrelevant Power 5 college football program going before Coach Prime was hired, when they were still in the Pac-12 and there were 5 P5 conferences. And even if Colorado were to replace Prime with somebody who picks right up and wins 9+ games next year, keeps this thing going, I still think it's a huge loss for the Big 12, because whoever it is, I guess within reason, if they pull Bill Belichick away from North Carolina, then I would take that statement back. But whoever it is, within reason, it's not going to be someone that generates the eyeballs that Coach Prime does. Right or wrong, whether you like why or how he does it, he gets eyeballs onto the TV sets. Remember the conversation that was had on the show not that long ago about the TV numbers for this year. Colorado averaged 3.55 million viewers per game this year. Second in the Big 12 was K-State at 1.38. 3.55 to 1.38. More than double. Well over double. Second place in the Big 12. In fact, you can combine the next three, numbers 2, 3, and 4 in the Big 12. K-State, KU, Utah. And you would get a number that is just barely over 3.55 million. So Colorado's TV viewership per game was almost more than the next three combined. That's a lot of juice for the Big 12 TV contract. That's a lot of juice for the league in general, and just conversation happening about the conference when you are fighting for that every single day. And it is a constant fight to get attention and get people to care about and respect your league. And he just, guys, frankly, he makes the league more interesting. Just makes it more interesting. Big 12 Media Day, that was a big deal. Coach Prime's there. He's talking. There are national folks there. There are people who would not have shown up if not for the fact that he was there. It draws more attention to not just the conference, but then everybody else, because if more people are showing up to Media Day, they can't listen to Prime talk the whole time. There's going to be other stuff going on. They'll start to pay a little bit more attention to the other things that are happening. It's just better for the league to have an interesting personality like that. The Big 12 needs to do things a little bit differently. I've mentioned this a couple times now on this show already. You can't be playing by this same, hey, SEC, Big 10, whatever, just have big power brands and go win games. Who cares who's coaching? You can't do that. You don't have the same brand power that those leagues do, so you need things like this. This turned out to be, the way everything worked out with Prime getting hired at Colorado and then Colorado jumping ship from the Pac-12 and starting that, and they come to your conference, could not have worked out better for the Big 12. And then they wind up having a good year in year one, and they're legitimately competing for the playoff, and you win a Heisman Trophy. All these things, very, very beneficial for the league. And I think you're fooling yourself, even if I can understand where you're coming from, if you're just writing this off as whatever, kind of hollow, attention-seeking guy and program. It doesn't matter, whatever. No, it does matter. It does matter. That will significantly hurt Big 12 TV viewership next year if he leaves. So I, for one, am very much rooting for him to stay. I would love for Coach Prime to stay, because in the end, You can keep this TV deal a little bit more juiced up. If you can keep this TV deal a little bit more juiced up, it's going to make everybody more money. So whatever your team is, whatever your squad is in the Big 12, that is something to keep in mind.